remember singing "O Canada" and "God Save the Queen" in school. And that was the way we started every day of every morning of every school year. And that meant a lot to me. That established in my heart a sense of Canadianism, a sense of unity, a sense of tradition and pride. And it's something that's almost subliminal. I mean, as a young kid, you don't really know that all those things are happening to you. But in psychology, we know that these things that come at us on television, on the internet, and just talking to people in daily life, they really affect our thinking. They affect our mindset, or our schema, as we call it. And so that's one of those beautiful traditions that's absolutely gone, because you can't do that now, right? I mean, what can you do now? We're so politically correct now about everything. We can't call anybody anything at all, right? We have to be so careful not to say that we open our mouths and we're afraid of offending somebody. I'm afraid we offend each other just by standing around half the time. Well, I met a fellow a little while ago at a writers' conference, and it was so interesting. He was from the former Czechoslovakia. And he said to me, "You know, Niki, I've sat here through this whole conference, and you know what I've figured out? That you writers are so obsessed with being politically correct all the time that you can't say anything at all. You can't criticize anybody for fear that maybe you're biased and so on." So he says, I had more freedom back in the former Czechoslovakia than I do here in Canada. And I think he was probably very correct, and he was very concerned about it. So one of the things that I'm noticing as a trend, and it's a very sad trend, I'm sure it's what a lot of you feel, is the death of our traditions. In Canada, in particular, just looking at our example, we see everything from post offices disappearing, railway tracks that used to glisten by people's houses are just being torn up because where's the railway? The RCMP went through a whole reanalyzation about should they have people with turbans in the RCMP, for example, or shouldn't they? It doesn't matter what side of the question you're on there. It's just a reevaluation and a change of the ritual and the tradition that we're used to. We're seeing a lot of our healthcare traditions. Medicare, is it going to even be around, right? We don't even know what's going to happen. Are there going to be enough nurses to even service the population we have now? There's a fellow in BC, I was just watching on television the other day. It was appalling that he had very serious cancer. And he was put on an 8-month waiting list for an operation. Because BC, unfortunately, is a haven for a lot of retired people and a lot of the people needing assistance and so on. And look what happens. He ends up waiting that long. Is that the kind of Canada that we want to have in the next century? Is that where we want to go with our traditions?